Hey there. So I got another story for you today. Have you ever heard the story about the six blind man and the elephant? So the story goes, there were six blind men who grew up in India. The community took care of them, and they would come out every day to congregate and argue about different topics. One of the topics that was very important to them were elephants, and they would argue about what elephants are like. One man may say elephants are like birds, they can fly. And so the community pretty much grew tired of this debate every day. So they arranged for the men to go down to the palace to visit to see an elephant. When they got to the village, they were met by a friend who worked as a gardener there. So when they got in, the first man got up to touch the elephant, and he was led to the front where the tusk is. He touched the tusk and he said, "Wow, so elephants are like stick, they're very rough, they're very hard. It's like a stick." The second guy came up and he touched the side and he said, "Oh, elephants are like, it feels like a wall. He's very rugged. He's a little soft to the touch, but rugged also." And then the third guy touched the tail and said, "No, the elephant's like a rope." And long story short, all six men had their turn to touch the animal. Now, the moral of that story is this: this is how we are about God with our various perspectives that we call religion. Christians are saying God is Jesus, and Muslims are saying he's Allah and Muhammad. The Rastafarian, it's Selassie. You get the point. Now, the objective truth is that the elephant is one animal, it's one being. There's a part of it that feels like a rope. The tail feels like a rope. There's a part of it that feels like a wall. The side was like a wall, stick. So all three men were right. All six men were right about their respective area that they got to touch, but they didn't have the whole truth. And remember, they're all blind, right? So just like us here in the world of forgetfulness, we are really blind to the actual truth until we become awakened, right? This is what man's search for meaning is about. We are born into this world and we get to swallow whatever philosophy and stories that we heard growing up. And it is for us to find God, if you will, for ourselves. And there's one way to go about that. There's a few ways to go about that. You can either go to church and believe what they told you because your family went to church and their family took them to church, or you can go within. Or for some people, they might have an accident and then they have a near-death experience, and then they go up and they see what this life is really about and what God is like. And they get to have a glimpse outside beyond the veil and, not be blind for that period and see what it's like. That's where I come in. That's what happened to me. So even though I grew up Christian, also I was never gun-ho about my Christian belief. Maybe when I was like 12, because I got baptized at 12. But I was always curious. As a kid, I was always very curious. I had many questions and many problems with the Bible. But I was too afraid to challenge my caregivers. But I always had a knot in my throat for the information that they would give me. It just wasn't sufficient. It didn't make any sense. And I was pissed off that nobody was questioning this because it does not make sense. So while we bicker about our religions, what if we're all right and we don't fully have it together? And there is a time in our lifetime now where we can go beyond what you call faith. We can go beyond that because you have souls like myself who have discovered that you can leave your body and get out of here. I can put this body down, which I will do tonight. I'm gonna travel tonight, and I can leave this body behind, and I can go back to the other side where I came from. I can see my dad. I can see my loved ones. I can see anyone who passed, and I can go and be with and talk with my soul team and my guides and my higher self, and I could do all of these things. I do it very, very often, and that's the truth. And as a former blind man, I can tell you I have eyes and I can see now, and you don't have the whole truth. Okay? You can broaden your perspective by going within. Be still. And know that I am God. I am God. That means you are God. So I could be the tusk and you could be the tail. And all the while, we are it. We are still the elephant. And there's not one part of the elephant that's not the elephant. And there's not one part of the elephant that is not important to the elephant, right? If you cut the tail off, it'll feel it and it'll be affected by it. Same thing with the hoofs, same thing with the legs, same thing with the eyes, all of it. It is one great big I am. And we just have different perspective because we have our own individualized bodies with our eyes where we get to view through our own respective perspective. But we're all right. So don't fight anybody for their perspective. Just respect them for where they are, because some people didn't get a chance to go to touch the cusp, right? They got to touch the tail and get out of there. It's 11:11 on the clock. The sixth blind man represents us as individuals with the veil coming down, with the veil over our eyes. You know, no one knows it all, but there's a way to know more, and that's by being open. And you can be open by first starting to accept yourself as an individual soul and as a sovereign soul. As long as you have a body and a pulse, there is a soul in there. Get to know that, okay? And you can ask it questions by getting still and relax, breathing, and coming home to self. Just take a break. Take a break from the TikTok life, the TikTok chasing yourself down, mundane life, and just get into self.